morning, everybody. I am Chris Secary, and I am out here with Lisa at Happy Creek Farm in Fairbanks, Alaska, and we're conducting the National Honeybee Survey. I'm with the Division of Agriculture. Lisa, would you like to talk about your bees a little bit and give us a little bit of background on them?
Sure. I'm in Goldstream Valley, which is right outside of Fairbanks, and I've got 10 hives currently. This is my 6th year beekeeping, I believe. It's hard to remember. It's all-encompassing. And I've got bees, I've got Russians, I've got different races of bees, because they tend to perform differently. I've got Russian bees, I've got Carnioleans, I've got a buckfast queen, I've got some mutt. Everything's a mutt now because everybody's been breeding with everybody, which is good because then there's genetic diversity, makes them stronger. My goal, along with getting honey, because we're in the interior of Alaska, which is north of 65 degrees latitude, and according to Dr. Medhat Nasser, is one of the harshest winter environments for the winter honeybees. My goal is to overwinter all my colonies successfully. And so I've done it the last 2 years. I've overwintered them outside, and both times they made it until very early spring, which for us is April-ish. Can extend down to May. Our climate's been changing so rapidly that we have to prepare for anything. We had a warm day in February last year where it was above 40 degrees, which is always a nice day where you can kind of open the hives and let them do a cleansing flight. Hopefully they get back in time. But we also had numerous weeks that were 35 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, which put all us beekeepers in an anxious state. So a bunch of my bee buddies have been very successful overwintering through the winter outside, and we have to mitigate from moisture, which is the big problem that we worry about. It's not the temperature that kills them. Rarely is it starvation. Usually it's the moisture that's built up from the condensation that the bees create. And so this year, instead of doing them outdoors, I have decided to build myself a bee barn that has several inches thick insulation and a ventilation system that will bring in fresh oxygen, get rid of the carbon dioxide that the bees have built up, and keep the temperature between 42 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll be able to actually just take my hives and put them in the bee barn instead of what I've been doing, which is bunching them together, wrapping them with 2-inch foam insulation, and then foil bubble wrap, and then hive wraps I've made with 8mm plastic with R20 bat inside, and then put little 2-inch PVC pipes downward at almost a 45-degree angle to the side of the hive in order to help with ventilation out the top, and then an open bottom so that they can get some fresh air.
All that is to avoid moisture in the hive, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
What is the purpose of overwintering? What does that help with?
So Alaska imports, we say import, but it's actually from California, thousands and thousands of boxes of bees. And I think it's more than any other state, from what I understand. And they come up, and when they come up, they bring with them the problems that they have down in lower 48. Lots of exposure to pesticide, varroa mites, nosema virus, and such. And when they get here, they're stressed, they're tired. They have a queen that's been put with them that didn't belong to that colony. So when we get them, they don't come here until about April. And by that time, if our hives were here during the winter, the queen starts laying after winter solstice, and then there's brood that's ready to go as soon as the days are warm enough. When we don't overwinter our bees, we have to wait till about April to get a box of bees, hive them, and wait for that queen, give that queen some days to get the workers some days to get used to that new queen, and then she starts laying. So we miss about a month, 2 months of laying when we ship them up, along with the diseases. And so when we have bees that overwinter, we get a stronger genetic profile. And I'm convinced, I have a theory that in my lifetime, much before the end of my lifetime, that we'll end up having some wild honeybees up here. I know we have lots of bees, but not honeybees.
Mm-hmm.
They're not native to this area.
Right.
So genetics, then also controlling for varroa, and controlling for, mitigating if we get nosema.
Yep.
And
can you talk a little bit about those for people who aren't familiar and how you prevent those?
Sure. Varroa is a mite that looks like a little Dungeness crab. it's red, it's tiny, and it feeds off the, I'm going to say this word incorrectly, vittigellin, that is inside the inner exoskeleton of the bee. And so someone has told me the equivalent would be to have a squirrel on your shoulder sucking out your blood. And when they get mites, the mites tend to house themselves underneath the belly of the bee, and they exhaust the bees. Their immune systems go down. They have to work harder just to stay alive. The lifespan decreases. And so we can do several things. We can get the hive temperature up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That'll kill the mites. We first should be screening to see if we have them. So on the bottom of my hives, there's a screen, like the green part of the bottom board. And underneath there is a removable piece of white cardboard material. And I can pull that out and stick it under my microscope and look to see if there are mites. And I can do a mite wash, which is taking about a cupful of bees, sticking in them in some rubbing alcohol, swishing them, looking at the liquid that comes out, and the mites will have fallen off. So we can get the temperature up high to get rid of them. We can use oxalic acid vapors, which a lot of us use up here, which is sealing the hives in that oxalic acid is a natural substance that comes from mangoes, I believe. Mangoes are another tropical fruit. And it doesn't hurt the bees, it doesn't affect the comb or anything, but it does kill the mites. We can do things like a wintergreen supplement where we put wintergreen patties and pollen patties made with wintergreen, and then add some of their own honey with some wintergreen oil, and as they ingest that, that will reject the bodies will reject the mites. We can do powdered sugar sprinkling that causes the bees to hyper bloom each other, and that'll remove mites. But our season is very short.
Right.
Our what we consider warm temperatures, are 30 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Bees don't like to forage unless it's about 57 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And so when our bloom up starts, which tends to be the end of April, beginning of May, which is when the trees start to bloom, that pollen's available for the bees, but the bees are still too cold to go and get it. And so our bloom season goes from then till about, it's been changing. Maybe end of July, beginning to mid-August, typically when the fireweed's gone.
Right.
And you can see fireweed over there.
A little bit.
That's a little bit how we measure our season. Once the fireweed is at the top, it means fall is coming. And fireweed is a great flower for the bees to gather nectar from. I went ahead and I've been working with a man named Etienne Tardif in the Yukon Territory, who's had great success overwintering outdoors. He's a mechanical engineer. He keeps lots of data, shares his information. It's wonderful. And been learning about bee nutrition, where some flowers are better than other flowers, and then also planting. And so behind you, you'll see a lot of clover, and the clover lives longer than the fireweed.
Right.
So for many beekeepers, this season has ended for them, but for me, they've still got nectar sources out there because the clover will live a little longer.
Okay.
And so we went from mites to flowers to where?
Oh,
Where now? Where now?
It's improvisation.
The purpose of overwintering.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
Gives them a head start.
it gives them a head start. Yeah. There's some when I have to replace colonies, which so far has been every year. I have noticed a distinct difference between there's a queen. I don't exactly understand, and I guess I haven't asked. There's a man in Palmer and Keith Malone who says he breeds Alaskan queens, and there is no race called an Alaskan bee.
Right.
Although Randy Oliver, who's a great beekeeper who has a great blog called Scientific Beekeeping, he refers to them as winter bees. Those are bees that will last the winter, our northern bees. But Malone has a queen that he'll sell us, and along with a colony that has genetics from queens that have overwintered. And I have noticed a very big difference in the activity of those queens and those colonies as opposed to the ones that don't have those Alaskan genetics in them.
Better shift up.
Yep, those queens are robust from the start. They start laying quicker.
Okay.
The colonies are more active, and they start preparing for winter as soon as they know it's happening. Because we should have bees that are, appropriate for our climate.
Right.
Our climate doesn't have anything to do with California,
Right.
especially up here in interior Alaska, which is vastly different than Anchorage area.
Oh, yeah.
And so those queens, I've noticed, will start preparing stores quicker than the other breeds that have been shipped up here. So getting those bee genetics is really important, so overwintering helps with that.
Okay, good. All right, well, I'll talk about what I'm up here doing, aside from getting a bunch of knowledge and having a great time with Lisa like I always do. I'm up here conducting the second round of longitudinal sampling for the National Honeybee Survey. I think I mentioned that in my previous Facebook Live. The National Honeybee Survey is an annual survey. Longitudinal sampling entails pest, disease, and pesticide sampling, which is unique from the general sampling. This year for the pesticide samples, instead of wax, we're taking bee bread samples. So I'm interested to see how that works out with the pesticides that are picked up. Essentially, I'm going to walk you through our sampling here. We're going to take a frame out of a hive. We're going to open up the hive, and we're going to move towards the center, which is where there should be more open brood frames and better likelihood of finding what we need for sampling. I'm then going to take that frame, knock it into this box, and I'm going to take 1/4 cup of bees as a live sample, put them in this container right here. Then I'm going to take 1/4 cup of bees and I'm going to put them inside an alcohol wash, which is what Lisa was talking about, to test for mites and things of that nature. I'm going to take bee bread and I'm going to keep it in this container, this sampling vial right here. For pesticides, you always want to keep things covered from UV because UV is going to break them down very quickly. This is going to be a knock sample tray. Purpose of the knock sample is to get open brood and eggs and debris from the hive. Put it in here, it's then going to go into an alcohol wash. That's pretty much what we're doing out here in a nutshell. So we'll start getting into a hive and show you guys the process and get rolling. So there's been some debate as to how many hives we sampled last time because Lisa had to do some changes, so our stickers aren't there anymore. So we're going to improvise just a little bit, but we're going to roll with it. So we'll get into the first hive and I will have my intern Grace come and start doing that.
All the hives are in the same exact order, same place as they were when you first came.
Okay.
I'm excited to get pesticide results because we up here have had a lot of issues in the last few years with mosquito sprays,
Right.
which are a specific spray that is marketed to kill our well-known Alaskan mosquitoes that have a reputation. They're a pain in the butt, but they don't carry any diseases. We've been smacking them for years. And the mosquito sprays have specific DEC regulations, the mosquito spray companies, that they have to follow. And some of the points on the material safety data sheets for these chemicals say highly lethal to honeybees, also aquatic life, birds, livestock, dangerous to humans and such. And so our apiaries, we have, I don't know, maybe 1,500 apiaries in the area. An apiary is where people keep their hives. And we have had in the last few years, well, so last year I was keeping track, and we had over 40 apiaries die after a spray. And what happens is, if this is my apiary and my neighbor sprays for mosquitoes, that spray it's not done in specific areas, it's done all over, and it drifts into my area. And then bees will forage up to about 3 miles or so to get nectar. And so if, whatever flowers or blooming sources are sprayed, that chemical gets on there, and then the bee ingests the pesticide. And so what we have commonly seen is particularly at the height of summer in July, when the colonies are real active and moving around a lot, there'll be a spray, and we'll know because there's a sign put out front, or we'll smell it. There's a smell to it. And we'll find a lot of dead in front of our hive with their tongues sticking out. So going from gigantic, robust colony to lots of dead, and the ones that are still alive looking intoxicated,
And
lethargic, falling off the edge of the hive, not knowing what to do, running into walls. It's heartbreaking to see. And so that's one of the reasons I volunteered to do this, is because I wanted to get all my bees tested to find out what they've been exposed to.
Right.
Because I can better keep them healthy.
Yeah, that's what we're out here to do. We're out here to take samples, get results, and help the beekeepers of Alaska. So make sure you register your hives and volunteer to get sampled. So we'll get cracking. Grace, you want to go ahead and open up the first hive? We'll kind of walk them through the procedure. And Lisa, can you talk about what's going on up here?
Oh, sure, yeah. So I have polystyrene hives. This is polystyrene. It's made in Finland. And then this is a traditional wooden Langstroth hive. The second box in the bottom is polystyrene. And I moved to polystyrene because it's better insulated, and people in the far north tend to use polystyrene. Most people in the U.S. use wood, but it's for insulation. And I love these. They fit together like Legos. So we have here, this is a great feeder. Even though you'll see some dead, traditionally the hive feeders are put inside the hives, and you'll have lots and lots of drowned bees. This way they don't drown. A couple of them did actually. And so when I pour in syrup, which has to be done at the end of the season in order to keep them alive and to prepare their winter stores, so a little sugar syrup with some essential oils and stuff, those bees that are right here at the end can go down, drink, and take that into the hive.
Okay.
And so when I come through and do a feeding, which has lately been every day, because all the honey's been pulled, I'll clear out any bees that have drowned, and then add the syrup.
Okay.
They love it.
And the purpose of that is preparing for winter as the season closes. Is that correct?
Right,
Okay.
right. And so that syrup is a 2-to-1 mixture, 2 part sugar to 1 part water. But also in that is some spearmint oil that helps repel things like mites, which can build up in our winter hive. Lemongrass that attracts the bees. I add zinc because zinc is one thing that bees need to develop that vitigelin and become what's called a fat bee.
Okay.
And the more vitigelin they have, the longer they live. They can live up to 10 months, according to Randy Oliver. If we could get a bee living 10 months because they've got that thick vitigelin in there, that's fabulous. Then our winters are going to be fine. I'll also put some chaga tea in there,
Okay.
just for trace minerals, and it just helps the bees be healthier. And so, you want me to take this off?
Yeah. Let's open it up and
So,
get rolling.
whenever I'm taking care of my bees, I always go slow. It takes forever, but I always go slow. And I think they know me, although I washed my bee suit today for the first time in a year, so it probably smells like...
Dare you?
Yeah, I know. It doesn't smell like me, it smells like detergent. So here they are, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 frames in here instead of 10, because as they're building up, sometimes they want a little extra room to build some more comb. And they've already established stores in all the bottom boxes,
Okay.
and so this is extra,
You
which is
think
great.
we'll find open brood up here in the top?
I know that there's brood. Yes, as of yesterday, there was brood in the first 3, not the 4th. There was some in the 5th, and the rest of them.
For the top boxes? Or the
Actually,
bottoms?
yeah, the ones, yeah. This one will not have. The second one will not have brood in the top box because there's a queen excluder.
Okay.
Keep queen in the bottom.
Can you explain that?
Sure. So on this hive, between the blue box that's on the bottom and the black box, the wooden box, I have a little metal piece. I don't think you can see it. It's a grid. It's a queen excluder, and the spaces in between the grid are too small for the queen to travel through. The queen is quite a bit bigger than the workers. These are all workers. Some of them you'll see are real small. They're like the babies that recently hatched, like over here. And then we'll have some drones. Most of the drones have been kicked out. Their purpose is mating. And then afterwards, the workers, which are all female, will kick the drones out because the drones eat a lot.
They're larger as well,
They're
right?
larger and they
Okay.
eat a lot. Yeah. And so this one does not have a queen excluder, so the queen has been allowed to lay eggs up here as well as in the bottom box.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's get into them. Do you want to start from, you think the side is okay to start from with all that extra comb built up there, or
Yeah.
you want to start from this side?
I would start there. Do you want to do it or do you want me to do it? Why don't you go ahead with that?
We'll let her get into the first one, yeah?
Okay, all right.
Awesome.
All right. So here's a drone. Here's a good example of a drone. See the really big eyes? This one right here. Come on, guy. He's probably wondering what the heck's going on. Why is anyone taking care of him? Drones don't sting. Got him?
Oh, I can't get him up. There we go.
Here's a drone. Real big eyes. He doesn't have a stinger. He's a male bee. And then on the other side is and the rest of them are females. They do sting. But they're not aggressive. They don't come after me. There are wasps, like this one. You'll see some yellow jackets around here that are really trying to take advantage of the sugar syrup and anything else. There's black or bald-faced hornets that like to hang out and go eat the bees. Here's another drone. And so people often will say, oh, I got stung by a bunch of bees, when it's actually a wasp. If a bee stings you, the stinger goes in and the bee loses its entrails. It pulls out the bee's entrails and the bee dies. Whereas a wasp will follow you and chase you and can sting you multiple times. So we don't like wasps.
Bees are buddies, wasps are
buddies.
not.
Yeah, and they'll say, "Oh, I stepped on a bee nest." I said, "Bees don't make nests."
Right.
Up here, honeybees are not native to this area, and so If you stepped on a big gray thing, it was a yellow jacket, paper wasp nest. So these,
not bees.
not bees.
Not bees.
These guys are building more stores. And when I say stores, it's not honey, but it's for them to feed off of during the winter. And I know that because this is nice and heavy. My queen is marked. I try not to smush it. But, so
As much as possible.
you'll see some, this is open stores. They haven't been capped yet. And on this side, you'll see some capped.
You can
See how
definitely
it's-
tell the difference.
Yeah, how it's flat. And when there's honey, the honey is not flat and indented like that. Honey is more convex. There's a more concave. And what do you want to take, Grace? What are you looking for?
We
What
need
can
to
I
get
help
some-
you with today?
We need to get some open brood, and we also need some bee bread,
Open
preferably
brood
on the
and
same
bread.
frame.
Okay. All right,
So
so we're going to have to go
move-
Rambo then.
Yeah, we're
Are
going
you
to
ready?
move towards the center.
Are you doing these? Okay. Could you hand me my brush? And could you hand me my little purple squirt bottle?
I don't think we're going to have any brood on this one. We're going to have to go towards the middle.
I tried to put the brood frames near the end. This is just a little sugar water. And if you don't know this trick, you should, and you're a beekeeper, you should know it. They love the sugar water. And what it does is it makes it so they're not going to fly at me so much. And because I need to put this frame somewhere else so that we can get in there.
Yep.
You might want to stand back. It's up to you.
Yep.
They're okay. I just try to slowly brush them down
The girls
into
are
the
never
hive.
too grumpy.
Many of them are like not pleased. Well, I don't know if they're not pleased. They're just not, this wasn't in their plans.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'd be mad if somebody opened up my house, didn't start brushing me.
it's like it's coming into your bedroom and ripping the covers off you, you know?
Right.
Like, no way. So, they like to sting me under my arms, so I try to keep my arms out. Goodies, goodies. So these are a colony that were from the Queen, the Alaska honeybee guy, Keith Malone down in Palmer. And so I'm just going to set this over here. Try not to squish any bees. So I'm squishing bees, and whatever's inside the bee's guts goes into the rest of the hive. Come on, guys. I'm just going to give them a little squirt,
Okay.
calm them down.
How many frames do you think we need to go over to get into brood?
So one of the things is you guys are coming pretty late this season.
Yep.
May I use your hive tool or my hive tool? Do I have a hive tool?
You go.
You shouldn't have to go far because I try to keep the brood in the end, even though the queen likes the brood to be in the middle. So we could just shift this over. I let that fall down. So I like to keep it up on this little ledge in here.
Yep.
And if I yell Mother of God, Mother of Dragons, it's because I have been stung. And the first one's always kind of a shocker,
Yeah.
but after that, it's
You want to go one more in or take
yeah.
it?
Nope. If you want bee bread, then you want open brood.
Yep.
I mean open. You just want bee bread and brood.
Yep. Open brood.
So you can see the different colors in the bees. Like this one's got black. There's a black bee with yellow stripes. This is a yellow or orange bee with black stripes. So we've got some that's solid black. So each different race of bees has different colorings. So it's really beautiful in there. All over the place. Okay, so let's pull this one up.
Yep.
We'll just slowly move it up.
Take this and hold this on them for a minute. I gotta go do a test.
And the brood tends to be in the center of the frame. There we go.
Okay, never
Oh,
mind,
you're
we're
gonna
good.
take my brood. So the brood is no, right in the middle.
Yeah, I need open brood though.
Is these babies are extremely important because these are the winter bees.
Yep.
So the fact that I'm allowing you to come over and take some
I know.
is pretty significant.
I'm not taking very many. Yeah, do you think we'll be able to find any open?
Well, look at this
These are
one.
all capped.
You might. Yeah. You might.
I won't be able to get me out of that cap.
None?
No.
Okay. Got that?
Yep.
This is like the really slippery.
I got it.
Okay, let me just, I just want to put them back in. I did less angry. Okay, how's that side look? Do you want me to?
Looks pretty.
Yeah. Try and use something that was-
Do you think we need to go down a box for open brood, or you want to go one more
Might
frame?
have to. Yeah, you want to show him? So brood is, this is a term we use for
That's awesome. We have some people saying they have a little trouble hearing, so
Okay.
project.
Project.
I always feel like I'm yelling, and I often don't talk very loud, so if I'm mumbling, it's a habit. Anyway, in the middle here, you'll see capped brood. You'll actually see a bee starting to emerge right there. You can see her. You see her poking her little head out?
That's
There's
so
actually a few
cool.
of them starting to emerge. So there you go.
They're hatching.
Bees being born live.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe this should have a different rating. Sorry, just kidding. So let's put that one. Yeah, let's just put that
Want
one.
me to lay it down?
Yeah. Just not to damage the brood. Sorry, I'm a little. Okay, we're going in. We're going in, ladies. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go another box down.
Okay.
And so what I want to do
Yep.
is I want to move. I want to keep this as close as possible because the queen could be anywhere.
Yep.
She is most likely to be somewhere that. Could you pull that open feeder right there? So I've got some pollen in open feeders because some pollen substitute because the bees have no source of pollen right now, and a lot of beekeepers make pollen patties and stick them inside the hive, and the bees would actually rather have an open feeder where they can gather pollen like they would naturally. This is a pollen substitute that has vitamins and minerals in it, and they'll fly in there, fly around, gather their pollen, and they actually use it to make bee bread. Can I explain to them what bee bread is?
Bee bread.
I'm going to move this side. Are you sure?
Yes. I don't really understand it fully myself, to be quite frank with you, Lisa. You would like to give a better explanation than I do. Okay, yeah. It's used to feed the adolescent bees, right? Is that correct? So, I'm still new here. This is only my second season doing any bee stuff, so I don't know everything by any stretch of the imagination. But how we learn is by talking to beekeepers and Googling things that we don't understand. So if somebody'd like to Google that and leave in the comments, that'd be top notch.
Because Lisa's focusing on bees right now.
As she's covered in this. Another thing we should talk about is why is it such a risk to get the, I mean, we're always concerned about the queen. A lot of keepers will mark their queens, so that way when you go into the hive you see her. They're notorious for rolling under the bottoms and sides of frames, and one of the biggest mistakes that amateur beekeepers or new beekeepers will make is killing their queens by rolling them, putting in and out of their frames. Also, the queens can't fly. So if you're taking out a frame and you drop the queen on the ground, chances are she's not going to make it. So when we're opening up hives and we're going to take samples, we're always cognizant of where the queen is trying to pay attention. When we're pulling out a frame, that's the number one thing that we're looking for is the queen, first of all, and then what we need for the samples.
I'm smoking myself.
You?
No,
Smoking
I'm just
with the
smoking
gum,
myself
Lisa?
because we're inevitably going to get stung, which is okay. Lots of people actually do it intentionally.
Some people.
But once you get stung, they emit a pheromone that lets all the other bees know that we're the enemy.
Yep.
But if you get some smoke on you, it takes that pheromone away. And if you don't have that smoke and you get stung, they all come at you. But this way, that won't happen. This is a shim I actually have. It's a new thing. It's just to give a little space in between the two boxes and also to provide an upper entrance here. So that without this, the only way they can exit the hive is down at the bottom.
Right.
And when there's a hive with a ton of bees in it,
Like this one?
yeah, that's not enough room. So the shim gives them a little more room. Okay, let's see. How many more to go?
I don't know. That's up to you until
Okay.
we find what we need.
So in doing this, we're going to be looking for the queen and also looking for brood. You can see they take care of each other. Here's a dead bee here, right down here. Should I talk louder?
Always louder.
This bee has stung something or someone. You can see its entrails coming out. Let me see if I can get it. And this worker bee on top, right here, is actually carrying that dead bee out. And you can see the guts coming out of the bee. It's like a bad horror movie. Do you see this? See it happening? This worker bee right here is carrying this dead bee out. And she is gonna carry that sucker right out of the hive. I'm gonna help her out. Although she's on a mission. I don't want to take away from her mission.
Her purpose.
Yes. Gotta complete the mission.
There's a wasp. A couple of wasps.
Coming out of here?
No, they're just hanging around.
Alright, let's go.
You want to pull out the first one first to make some space, or we want to just go for it?
let's pull one out for space. And we can just stick it in this hive. And I just want to make sure the queen's not in here.
Yep.
Because if I have to replace a queen this late in the season.
Right. Could be very detrimental.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to explain why?
Yeah. Because the queen doesn't have enough, if I had to replace the queen now, she wouldn't have enough time to lay enough for me to get more winter bees. And I'd also have to reintroduce her into a colony that she's not familiar with. And if they are not familiar with her, they'll kill her.
There's a bunch of bread right there.
So here's some bee bread over here.
I might.
You want to take that one?
Well, I might, but I like to do it all from the same frame so I'm not overly disturbing them.
I think they're already disturbed.
Yeah, well, aren't we all?
Yeah, right. A little bit. So there's bee bread in here. I just want to make sure that queen's not on here. And she's got a blue spot on her back. Every year is a different color.
And another behavior that'll happen is when you're pulling out frames, the other bees will ball up on the queen and make it harder to see her. So you'll have to brush them when they start balling up. You can agitate them a little bit or move them so that way you can see if the queen is in fact in that area. Again, they're always on the move. They're notoriously sneaky and they will get where you don't want them every time if you don't pay attention.
I noticed the cameraman keeps backing up a little bit. When I first started beekeeping, I had read this book by a woman named Sue Hubble called, what's it called?
Are you putting that in that box?
No, I was going to give it to you for bee bread.
Okay, yeah,
I forget what it was called. Book by A Beekeeper's Year. And it was fascinating. And I was always interested. And then I took a class, it was on my bucket list, with a man named Steve Peterson who became my mentor.
That was bucket list with a B, folks.
Yes, B-E-E. And he told me it would take about a half an hour a week because I said I want to make sure I had enough time to do this. Little did I know, half an hour a week was not even a fraction of how much time I spend out here. What was my point there? Oh, learning about beekeeping. And bucket
What you
lists.
doing, Chris?
I'm taking a bee bread sample, which is what we're checking this year for pesticides. And has anybody Googled what bee bread is exactly and put it in the comments for us to read out loud so we sound like we know?
No,
Okay.
Oh,
not yet.
Well, somebody needs to do that for me so I don't embarrass myself too bad. What do you think over there, Lisa?
Oh, I was trying to figure out what I was talking about. It was anxiety. It was the first time I went to a beehive. I was very anxious, and the bees pick up on it.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a good exercise in regulating my breathing and, using a lot of self-talk, like, it's okay. And if I get stung, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, it's definitely a humbling experience the first time you open up a beehive, for sure. And your natural instinct is to want to take off.
Yeah, I think that is evolutionary.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because to be stung by all these... Yeah, and some people have a horrible allergic reaction to it. I don't, luckily. But I know people have developed one in their adult years.
From so many things, right?
I think so. So these get pretty heavy. You see her?
I don't see her. And again, we're looking for the queen. Want to make sure we don't accidentally kill her, drop her. You can see the loss.
Angie Weeks says bee bread, honey or pollen used as food for bees, per Google.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Bee bread pollen with a little honey mixed and enzymes from bees added.
We've got brood, capped, and bee bread.
Do you have any open brood?
With larvae and such?
Yeah.
I,
I'm going to need some open.
yeah, I don't know. I do not know. There, I don't see any.
Do you mind if we keep going?
No, let's keep going.
Do you want me to clean this up for you?
Clean it
Leave
up.
this guy. I was
Oh,
just
sure.
going to take this off. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm disrupting the brood nest, which is not nice. A queen likes to lay in kind of clusters, and I'm putting frames back up here that should be in here. And people will tell you that if I people, beekeepers in Lower 48 will tell you, don't ever, if you take frames out, always put them in the same place. Up here in the north, we don't have not. We've had to do the best we can with what we have, and I found it doesn't. rather than too much. I will move those. Look at all that brood. That's so exciting.
Good
Woohoo!
looking. I just need some open brood here, girl.
So the queen. So the fact that we have brood here means that she's been here in the last 3 days.
Yep.
And
3
so
days.
she is here,
Yep.
and I am going to just see if she's down here. Nope.
And again, that's because of the balling behavior where the other bees will ball up on the queen and you pull a frame out.
Let's see. Okay, so
I think we're clear on this side.
let's put that one back in and move it in over to the side. So we're very close to the queen.
Somewhere.
Yeah. She's sneaky. She's just she's very good at hiding.
What's that, girl?
Right. Let's move this.
So we had Stephen George write in and say bee bread pollen with a little honey mixed and enzymes from bees added.
Stephen George is one of my bee buddies,
Well, there you go.
and is the man who inspired my. Look at that. Is the one who inspired my my bee barn.
Oh, nice.
He has an outstanding indoor overwintering setup. I'm looking for her.
Yeah, I don't see her.
And
You see her? Oh, we got some open brood over here.
we've got some
I can
open
take
brood.
this one, yes.
Okay,
That
so
would be perfect.
just let me just.
I need the bees too, though.
Okay, so you need bees.
Yep.
Hi, Steve.
I don't think the boss is here. You mind if I take this one?
Very knowledgeable. No, but no, let's. You want some of the bees that are on here?
I need a cup of bees total, or a half a cup
Okay.
of bees total.
Let me hold it because I want to make sure she's not on there.
Okay. We'll take a double check look and then I'll take it.
Hold that again for a minute.
Steve is very knowledgeable.
Try to grab it from the bottom
What
if
about
you can.
you can do something with this. I don't see her.
Yeah, no, I didn't see
either.
her there. We dropped that ball, but I don't think she was on that.
And sometimes it helps to like hold it like this. But I'll tell you that blue spot or red spot,
Oh, it's
whatever.
easy to see this here with
Yeah.
the blue, yeah.
Okay.
Let me know when I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll go for the rest of it.
Okay. Are you gonna take them all?
No.
Okay. Let me brush off the ones you don't need.
Well, we'll put them back. I'll put
Okay.
them back. So this is my least favorite part of this entire process. And I'm going to need your hands.
Will you need?
Here.
Can I put these frames back in here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Chris, for a second, can you hold that just right outside of here? Photos. It's for all my fans. Okay, so you ready for the process?
Yeah.
Alright, so here we go. We'll show you guys how this is done. Alright, girls. Water out of here. Alright, so we need a quarter cup live bees. Quarter cup of alcohol wash. And what Grace is doing is cleaning off that frame for me.
Did you tell them that you're doing a mite wash?
Yep, that's what the alcohol wash is for, is to look for mites.
But it's pretty easy for us to do on our own.
And we already got the bee bread earlier from a different frame. So I'm going to do is trade Grace and give her that back. And the side effect of doing this, of course, is bees die. It's my least favorite part of my job, but it has to be done. And I've been told to think of it as equivalent to a blood sample, where the bees will
why don't you put
regenerate
the
it
top one?
very quickly. So I'm doing here is a knock sample. I'm trying to get brood or eggs from the hive. Just a little bit. We're going to get honey all over our stuff because we're later in the season here, so they're going to start coming in this tray to try to clean it up as I go along. Probably do one more on the other side. So I try to make sure that I'm killing as few as possible, because I really don't like to kill bees. It's not a very fun thing.
He's gonna do this every frame, isn't he? Huh? He's gonna do this every hive, right?
Yep,
Maybe for every.
same from every hive. Oh, I was just here not too long ago, you remember?
I know. It's hard to remember.
I know.
It's been a rainy summer.
I know, very rainy
Rainy and
summer.
cold, and there's been a lot of bee management necessary.
And how does the rainy summer affect your beekeeping? You want me to put these frames back in here for you? Lisa?
Yeah, right there.
In the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bees won't forage when it's raining. which means they're not going to go get what they need for food. And we've got rain for 3 or 4 days. That could kill a whole lot of bees. Because obviously very small, high metabolisms. And so when that's going on, we have to make sure to add a supplemental pollen patty, a pollen supplement patty. Pollen patty, that's actually a pollen supplement. And some sugar water, so they have something to feed the new bees. Otherwise, they don't have anything to feed the new bees or themselves or the queen. And so we've had a lot of rain and a lot of cool temperatures. And like I said before, if it's, you know, we have had, many of us up here have had bees flying at 20 and 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Even, you know, a bee buddy of mine, Sean Aldrich, has a picture of a bee flying out of his hive at 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Which he took after he talked to a beekeeper in North Korea who said they won't do that. We see this kind of stuff pretty frequently.
That's uniquely Alaskan, right?
Yeah, but they're not foraging at that temperature. They'll come out and do a cleansing hive. A cleansing hive means they're coming out to poop because they will not defecate inside their hive. And if they do, then we risk dysentery.
Right.
And so bees will, sometimes if they've got dysentery, there's nosema and there's dysentery, both end up with diarrhea. They're both poop related. So some bees will do like a suicide flight and fly out and die so that they don't infect the rest of the hive. So there's the hive opening up there. I got this from Janet at Dragonfly Farms. She said, I've got these new shims. You want to try them? I'll actually end up using this in the winter as just a spot for, on the bottom, for the bees to make sure that they get enough air inside the hive when they're overwintering.
For proper ventilation.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
You want me to pick this box up?
Oh, sure. Come on, do it. Lift from the legs. Okay, so I kind of wiggle it on just so the bees that are okay. There's the horrible crunching sound that happens if bees get squished.
I know.
And then if we can align it onto this shim, that'd be great, just real slowly. Because that way the ones that are in the squish's way will get out of the way.
Yep.
Can you push it back my way?
Yep. The whole thing?
Yeah.
Or just the
top.
box?
The box. Okay.
Good?
Yeah, how are we doing over there?
We're lined up.
Okay.
We need a little bit.
Did I move it?
Just a little bit, but you're okay.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So I'm gonna take these ladies.
You want the feeder back on there, Lisa?
Oh no, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna find this spot and I'm gonna.
Put them back home.
Yep. That flower. There was a bee last night that was stuck in the flower when it started to rain. I happened to be in my garden, so I picked the flower and brought it over here so she wouldn't be stuck.
She got out.
She was head in.
Oh,
Trying to
really?
avoid, she was like buried in there. So I'm gonna slide this on and try not to squish. And then I know, come on, I know, just let me. So I pushed the hive too close to the second hive.
Okay.
I'm just gonna move over with it. Because these polystyrens don't fit perfectly over the wood.
Right.
Then for me, I'm gonna clean out the dead here. And you guys want to hit the other hive while
Yeah.
I have your hive tool. I'm sorry. That's all right. I would not want to eat food that had dead parts in it. Well, I guess it's a whole other topic.
Wait, dead parts of what?
Yeah, right?
I think that would be discussed.
Okay. Come on, lady. See, she's doing the James Brown.
So what I'm doing here is sliding frames over because I want to go towards the middle. But you want to maintain bee space so you're not rolling bees and killing them.
Can you explain what bee space is?
Oh, the queen isn't up here because you have a separator.
Yep.
You have an excluder.
So we're going to have to take that one off
Yep.
right off the bat.
So the top box is going to have to come off, and that's because
wait.
there's a queen excluder in between these two boxes, and she's not laying in this top. Because
Yeah.
as Lisa said earlier, she can't get up to
imagine
this
they just
top
go
box.
through
So this is going to be
all the way to the end.
all honey, essentially.
There you go.
So
We're going to make some space here so we
Okay.
can move that box. Keep going.
okay, there we go.
Keep going.
So you guys can see
Okay.
this over here, Joe. That excluder. What's up? You want them on the ground, or do you want them?
Just
This
oh,
way?
You're, yeah,
Okay.
just to rotate them.
Yep. All right. Lisa is an extremely good bee mom. You'll notice that very quickly. So again, we know the queen is not up top because we had this excluder, she had this excluder on. So we'll remove the excluder, and then we're gonna have to start watching for the queen.
I'm gonna let's move this over to the, I'm gonna move that open feeder. I wanna move the other opposite direction.
Okay.
That way if she falls,
She falls here.
yeah,
Okay.
we can find her.
Can you get it in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, let me get. They'll put propolis in here and lock it up. So we got some that got stuck in there, the hive
I see
excluder.
that.
They're probably drones that were trying to go through but didn't make it because they were so big.
Their heads are too fat for their own good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know a lot of guys like that.
It happens. What are you gonna do? You got a big head. You got a big head.
And what are you doing right now, Lisa?
I'm scraping off the junk,
Okay.
trying to keep it clean because they are clean. Ladies are clean. So this is a new frame that I put in there
Yep.
because I pulled honey a little while ago. And they haven't been building new comb. They've been building a little bit of new comb. You can see a little bit of white here. That's a little bit uneven right here. Fresh new comb is white, and as it gets older, it turns darker. But they're not in comb building mode right now. They're in prepare for winter mode.
And what does that mean exactly?
That means eat as much as possible.
Okay.
It's kind of like us in Fairbanks.
Yeah.
Eat as many carbs as possible.
Oh, this is a beautiful, beautiful
Oh.
frame. Look at all that brood. I need the bees. I need the bees.
I know you do. I'm just making sure they don't fly away and don't fly away on you.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is like a little treat. They're like being sprayed with
That's why they're always
whipped
so
cream.
sweet, because she spoils them. You want to take a
Shall
look
I?
for the boss? Just to verify my work there?
And if I blow on them, something Steve Peterson taught me, it'll separate them and they're all clogged up together. Beautiful frame, ladies.
I know it's.
Look at the wasp. Look
I
at
know
that
they're
wasp.
all over it.
Get up. So look at this one. I like to take pictures of them.
I know I've got somebody got pictures from this one too.
Fascinating creatures.
I know.
They're so organized.
I love them.
I love them too. They worked. Oh, look at we've got one coming. We've got what do we got? Oh, she's. Oh, I thought we had a queen that was laying. I thought, oh, exciting. Let's get that wasp out of there. Where is he?
He was bothering
flew
me.
it.
Look, yeah, it looked like they
Chicken.
got after him.
It's a chicken.
I know.
Chicken wasp.
Are we happy? Boss isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do the dirty work. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's gotta be
It's
done.
in the name of science,
I know.
so we can keep things healthy and good.
All right, Grace, you ready? So Grace is going to clean that off for me, and then she's going to put these other girls back in their house. The first thing I'm going to do is take some bread again. Should be going inside the pile and inside
So you want these in the top box again? This one in here. So you want me to show you how to? Sure. I'll just They go in. They're like cats. You can like, well, you know,
They're so much better.
whenever they
than
fall,
cats.
they land
What
on their
you
feet.
could do.
You know, they just got the wings and the.
Sorry to all you cat people.
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
better.
I know people are sometimes cruel to cats. I
Probably
don't
equally
advocate
as
being
good
cruel to
as
cats.
dogs. So what I'm doing is I'm digging in here, unfortunately,
So what I'm gonna do?
destroying some cells to get out some bee bread for the national survey. And that'll, again, do the pesticide results. I'm going to cover it with foil in between samples. What I'm going to sample in this frame is what we call open brood. So you can see, if you can see in there, the brood, the tops of them haven't been capped yet. See that girl emerging right there? There's another girl emerging. That's what's going to happen right now. They're just in larva form. So, I'm trying to get some of that out of there. Ooh, I got a wasp. Look at that. That's good luck. Smashed a wasp while I'm doing my job. Get some of it out. Sometimes you can see it fall out into the tray right here. That's brood. That's what we're looking to sample, and the debris falling out. I think it's good in that one. So we're going to rescue the bees from the water, because you don't want to hurt any more bees than you have to. And probably this wasp. Throw it down. All right. So what we're going to do is rinse the debris and the brood out. We're going to put it right into this little screen right here, so that we can then put it into the sampling container before we ship it off. And Alaska is unique as well. I'm not sure what other states are doing it, but our live bee samples are not shipped live. We flash freeze them. We take a composite sample, which means all the bees from all these hives go into one box. Flash freeze them using dry ice, and then I'm going to take a composite sample in a vial and ship that, as opposed to shipping the live bees, because to the best of my knowledge, they're not going to make it from here to the lab. So that's what we're doing. I don't think I'm missing anything. I hope I'm not missing anything. This is live.
So I'm taking notes. Like I have a bee journal, but I also have an app on my phone that allows me to track what's going on hives. So as we go through this, I'm marking that there's food in that box, there's food in that box. The queen is present in both boxes. So that way when I go back, I can say, what happened here? Oh, okay. You know, the queen was gone, or there was no brood. Just so I know what's going on. Any beekeeper, I encourage it. My app on my phone, I can take pictures of, you know, frames and stuff. But it's much easier with the gloves to
Ready for the
write
top
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Where did I put it?
We're running out of time. How long have we been going?
About 45 minutes.
Really? Oh, that went way quicker than I thought it was going. I didn't even embarrass myself once. Maybe I should not.
You did great. You're doing great.
All right, well, yeah, I mean, in principle, this is what we're out here doing. We're going to be doing 8 hives total, which is the sample protocol for the longitudinal sampling. And yeah,
What's a longitudinal sample?
the
We have our own kids show.
longitudinal sampling is 2 rounds. General sample is 1 single sample of an apiary. Longitudinal, I came out here in springtime when the bees were getting established, and I sampled Lisa's hives, and essentially took a snapshot of the health of the hives at that time. Now they've had the whole season to forage and do their thing, and now at the end of the season, I'm coming back and taking another sample. That is part of the longitudinal sampling. Is it's 2 samples, beginning of season and end of the season.
Well, what do I get out of this?
Huh? You get good scientific data, and you get to spend like 4 hours with me, which is always a delight, I'm sure. It's not. Anyway,
Oh, it is. It is.
we'll go ahead and wrap it up, folks, and I'm really glad that you guys could be here and do this Facebook Live with us and see what beekeepers are doing out here in Alaska for honeybees and pollination and trying to keep them healthy and happy, and hopefully I'll have more people join in and register your beehives, please. Call me if you have any questions, shoot me an email.
These two are communicating.
We're talking to each other?
The little feelers.
These are adorable. Have a good day, folks.
Nice to meet you.